Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's 1Mby1M Strategy Roundtable for Entrepreneurs. 1M1M, as you know, is the first and only global virtual accelerator in the world. Our mission is to help 1 million entrepreneurs reach $1 million and beyond in annual revenue. We run this out of Silicon Valley, but literally in these sessions, we encounter entrepreneurs from all different corners of the world. And every time we see these people coming from faraway places, you know, from the foothills of the Himalayas, whether it's Kashmir or Siliguri, we've seen people coming. We've seen people coming from Cape Town, South Africa, and so on and so forth, Ghana. We don't really do any proactive marketing in these places, but we do see people coming, which thrills me. Every time we have these people, it thrills me to bits, absolutely. So these are going on for a long time. This is the 393rd session. We have a milestone coming up for 100th Roundtable on May 16th. And we started doing these in the fall of 2008. And, we've pretty much done it every week with maybe every year we may skip 3, 4, 5 sessions because of travel or holiday or so forth, Thanksgiving and so on. But we have done a very regular job of being here for entrepreneurs week after week after week. The event is being recorded, and it's very helpful actually to have the recording for those who are pitching, because you don't have to take notes. You can just go back and refer to the recording later. And then we do have a following on the YouTube channel, so a lot of people actually who cannot attend the live session listen to these on either through the YouTube channel or through our podcast. So if you are live tweeting the show today, please use hashtag 1M1M. Our Twitter handles are at 1Mby1M and at Romana. We publish a tremendous amount of quality content through which you can learn, you can feel inspired, and so on and so forth. That's also a great channel to follow. Now, this is a roundtable, not a broadcast. We want you to participate. We want you to weigh in. We want you to engage. We want you to, do as much as possible to be a part of the community. And that's how you will learn. So make a note of these numbers. I will put these up again when we are ready for call-ins. But we do have some programming, pre-arranged programming, and then we'll do open Q&A a bit later in the program. We're going to start today with a conversation with Tim Guleri from Sierra Ventures. I've known Tim for a long time, probably 15 years or more. Tim, it's great to have you here. I'm looking forward to catching up and introducing you to our audience.
It's been too long.
Welcome.
It's been too long. My pleasure to be here.
So, I think we should start with you introducing yourself as well as Sierra to our audience. What is your investing focus today? How big is the fund? What is the, what are the things that you want to position the fund as that our audience should know about?
Yeah, absolutely. But firstly, it's a pleasure being here. And Sarmana, you do such a wonderful job for all the entrepreneurs globally. So thank you for doing that, and thank you for having me. It's a pleasure, and I apologize for the informal setting. I'm in my home office, just heading into work after this. So I think the way I'd like to maybe just spend a few minutes on my background and how I came to be a venture capitalist, and I'll be happy to introduce Sierra after that. So when you said the foothills of the Himalaya, that reminded me, I'm actually originally from India, as you can probably tell from my accent. Guleri, my last name, is actually from Himachal. I grew up in India and came to the U.S. for my master's degree, came to California and started my job in the semiconductor industry and soon went into a software company called Scopus Technology, where I joined as an engineer and then went into sales and marketing, ultimately taking that company public in '95, and it was bought by Siebel Systems. So I got a taste of entrepreneurship and sort of got a sense of how it's done, and I started my own company in '96 called Octane Software, and Octane was in the customer service area as the internet was booming. So I scaled that up very quickly, raised venture capital, so learned what it's like to be an entrepreneur on the other side. And I ultimately, with the hard work and luck, as these things always are, sort of tied together, I ended up selling that company to a public company called Epiphany for $3.2 billion. So that was a very good outcome for all investors. And then I crossed the proverbial DMZ to become a venture capitalist. And I think the principal reason was that I think and I'll talk about Sierra here in a second, that I feel very strongly about thoughtful entrepreneurs that take a while to build a real business. And I felt, and I had the pleasure of having great entrepreneurs turn VCs on the other side as my board members that provided such a great service and thoughtful feedback. I felt that would be a natural, succession of jobs for me. So I ran into Sierra Ventures. This is now a 35-plus older firm this year. We are investing our 11th fund. And so Sierra's focus, which was my passion and love, is enterprise-based companies. So these are companies that are building hardware or software for businesses. And we don't really differentiate whether it's the top of the business market or the bottom. As long as the software or the hardware is for the business market, Sierra is interested. So that is our investment focus. In terms of stage, I like to say we like to come early and stay late. So we are very patient capital. We like to be the first institutional check into these companies. And our size of investment is actually very flexible depending on what the business needs. So we'll write anywhere from a $500K check all the way till, $11, $12 million, given that we do Series A and B principally. But we ensure that we have plenty of reserves to help scale our companies. I've been lucky to take a couple of companies public. In fact, a company in India called Make My Trip, where I'm still on the board, and that's a multi-billion-dollar market cap company today, et cetera. So that's a bit about Sierra and my background, and I'll let you lead the conversation from here.
Tim, how big is the Sierra fund now, this 11 fund?
Fund 11 is $175 million approximately, and our thesis is that we think that technology and businesses and the business investment climate is a secular trend in terms of disruption. But these cycles where we try to capture and capture entrepreneurship are probably 2 to 3 years long. So we tend to structure our funds in this $175 to $200 million buckets, invest them in 3 years in the right kind of companies, and then raise the next fund and we're very lucky to have a very stable set of limited partners, so it's a relatively straightforward process.
And double-click for us on the stage question. You
Sure.
like to be the first institutional money in. What do you like to see? Let's say you are doing a Series A deal. What do you like to see in it in terms of metrics, in terms of validation, in terms of team? What are the requirements to qualify for your definition of a Series A? Definitions are varying greatly these days.
Yeah. I think it's actually a very, very good question and a very tough one to answer because, and I'll try to frame it for you, because I think if you look at our last fund, almost a third of the fund in terms of the number of deals we did were seed investments. So these were anything less than $2 million of initial check. This could be literally a $500K check. It could be a $2 million check. And typically what we call seed and what we look for is obviously the very early companies, but this is, we get convinced as a partnership that this is a team that is doing something very interesting, and that if we give them some initial help, guidance, and by the way, we have a network of 80 CIOs on our advisory board, so we can connect them with these people that are spending billions of dollars in IT. And if these guys can execute to a couple of business metrics, maybe the first customer at a particular average selling price, that's interesting, we can see our way to a very large company. So it's like a seeding strategy. But the difference and the key here is, Ramana, our seeds are not flyers. So in other words, we're not saying, hey, here's some seeds, and we're just going to let you kind of wander in the forest yourself. Our seeds are very directed. They're very thematic, and we believe in our seeds as much as we believe in the Series A. But the ideas are a little still unformed, and maybe they don't have the first couple of customers. They might have some technology that's built. But we believe as ex-entrepreneurs that we can see something there. So that's what a seed definition is. Series A is much more evolved. These companies typically have, a dozen to, sometimes, 30, 40 customers. A good example of that might be one of the companies I've done in the cloud data processing space called Treasure Data. This is a Japanese company, two Japanese founders, phenomenal entrepreneurs, Hiro and Kaz. And we led Series A back in 2013, and this company already had 30 customers, but Kaz was really looking for, and Hiro were looking for, how do we scale this to a large business? And so that was a prototypical Series A for us. Maybe the company at the time was doing 100 or maybe 150K in MRR. So those are the two definitions that the way we look at a Series A or a Series C.
And you have some thematic, I guess expertise would be the right word. What are those? If you look at where you have really deep relationships, maybe these CIO relationships, what sectors would those be? Because we are seeing a lot of vertical deals these days. There's obviously horizontal, but there's a lot of vertical deals coming up all the time.
Yeah. I'll tell you, I've been in the tech business, I guess, since I graduated college, and I've never been this excited by what's going on in industry, because we talk about our interest in the space in three buckets, Sarmana. One is infrastructure. This would be like cloud and edge and wireless, and these are next generation technologies that are sort of embedded inside these devices. So an example that everybody could relate with could be the little fingerprint sensor that was on the old iPhone and is on the new iPad, et cetera. So my partner, Ben Yu, who's a PhD in physics from Princeton, is the specialist in this edge software and edge computing, because it takes very, very precise software to actually detect your fingerprint. And that particular company was our company that was bought by Apple to provide that capability. So that is what we call infrastructure at the edge, if you may. Then the next bucket is intelligence, and this is all the data and all the AI and all the ML that is being sort of talked about du jour. But we've obviously been doing this for a long time. In fact, Teradata, which is the granddaddy of big data, was our company well before my time at Sierra. But then we did Greenplum, which became now Pivotal, which is EMC today. EMC acquired that company. And we have a whole host of companies on top of that that are next generation AI and data processing companies. So infrastructure, intelligence, and industries, which is, I think, the point that you were making, which is verticals, in which there's massive disruption that's going to happen in the business processes that are actually in these verticals. So infrastructure, intelligence, and industries are the three buckets. And in the latter two would be what typically people talk about, kind of the data center infrastructure and business applications. And, I particularly like SaaS businesses. I'm on 7 SaaS boards, ranging from companies doing, close to $100 million in annual recurring revenue, all the way down to a new investment I just did where it's a seed investment, but it's just they have 3 customers, but they're all software as a service business models. So in the business context, software context, infrastructure, intelligence, and industries, underlying that we have 80 CIO relationships and CTO relationships. This would be the CIO of Merck & Company. This could be the CIO, CTO of Facebook, a whole bunch of pharma companies, Bosch, like hardcore industry. And depending on what business we are looking to invest in, we'll match them with the right mentor to get next generation advice on what's going on in that particular vertical that could be helpful for the entrepreneur. So the CIO advisory board is, by the way, now 14 years old. It's the largest, certainly in the Silicon Valley, and because we're very much specialists in B2B, I think it provides a fantastic resource for entrepreneurs.
Great. And also, I think in a lot of cases, businesses that are selling into the enterprise have the structure of a big deal. You know, the ASPs are larger, and when you have larger ASPs, often it is easier to build companies for less money because the cash flows differently.
I used to tell my when I was CEO, I used to have the saying to my sales guys and my company in general that revenue is a really good deodorant. So I don't care what shape or size you bring me revenue in, whether it's a customer contract with consulting or direct consulting. So I really encourage my portfolio companies that venture capital is interesting just to stabilize your business, but you can't depend on that. You have to ultimately get revenue from customers, and that's really what it's all about.
So what about geography? You started off by saying that you're on the board still of a company that was an Indian market-facing company, not just a company that originated in India and went global, but it was an Indian market-facing company. So it seems like that's within your investment thesis.
Yeah, so we believe as a partnership that to build a large company, so in the context of what is large, you could say maybe at the minimum getting to 100 million in ARR to 200, 300 million, because ultimately the public markets just care about two things: growth and ultimate EBITDA. And everything in the middle, gross margin, expenses, that's something that, obviously we help and we care about with entrepreneurs. So when you look at the global, those sort of metrics that you have to produce, you have to have a global perspective on the markets in which you're building a company. So for instance, if I'm about to invest in a company that's building a next generation data processing engine, like the treasure data example I'll give you, we have and we currently are already selling in international markets. So the fact that Hero and Kaz were from Japan, and the engineering team happened to be in Japan, but they were building the core business in the U.S. because U.S. is the largest data market, and then Japan is number 2. I really took that as a huge positive. So we're actually 100%. We don't care at all where the company is physically based. Our view is that if you like the business and the overall idea, and the entrepreneur has the gumption and the confidence to attack a global market, we want to be partners and bring our network from the U.S. to bear on that, and then obviously help them Pac-Man, because it's a very precise dance you have to do, which markets you move into, when do you move into them, how do you move into them. So we actually, sitting in Silicon Valley for 35 plus years, we're completely agnostic to geography. In fact, we were doing the stat the other day. If you look at Fund 10, which is fully invested now, some 65–70% of the deals are actually outside the Bay Area. My last deal, in fact, I'm going to be in Tel Aviv in 2 weeks, was from Tel Aviv. I have deals and we as a partnership have deals in Canada. My partner, Mark Fernandez, has done a couple of deals in Canada. So yeah, we're very, very open to global entrepreneurs, and which is why it's really exciting to be on your call, because I know this is a format for getting out to all those great entrepreneurs out there.
Yeah, and this week, do you know Stefan Dietrich is the founder of Neolane? That was one of those rare European enterprise software companies that made it global and then found an American exit into Adobe, very solid exit. So it's good to see that it's happening actually in different parts of the world now, not just in the U.S. and not just in Silicon Valley.
Yeah, and it's interesting you mentioned something here which I want to just touch on briefly. So I'll give you 2 quick 30-second examples. So one of my first investments with my partner, Mark Fernandez, which we did, was a company called SourceFire. This is a security company based in Washington, D.C. And I still remember when we, very competitive Series A, when we wrote the check and won the deal and got the mandate with Marty Roche, one of the things we told Marty is, hey, you keep doing what you do in DC. We'll bring you all the networks because this is where we live. We live in Silicon Valley, and this is where the largest, tech companies happen to be. Now, you fast forward the clock 9 years from that investment. We took the company public. It ultimately got bought by Cisco right here, in San Jose. And those were relationships we had for, $2.4 billion. So that's, I think I want to underscore what networks mean. So entrepreneurs need to be thinking about what beyond capital can the VC offer. And I think that's very instructive. So that's one quick point. The other is, I think the value of how to think about what this company should be called in the context of the market is also something which we find we add incremental value in, because a customer, a CEO might come into the U.S. market and think this is how they want to talk about this product and the company, but knowing how the big players are moving and what the technology is and which other startups are in that sector that might become competitive or are already competitive, we give them some advice that if I were you, I'd sort of call it differently. And I think those things matter a lot, and it's very nuanced. So getting an investor that has that perspective, and by the way, there are some great investors, other investors as well here in the Valley that know what they're doing in this particular space. So you have the benefit of that, and I highly encourage entrepreneurs to make that, see if they get that option to go for those sort of VCs and that kind of VC dollars.
Tim, you have, as we spoke for the last 20 minutes, you have already cited some of your highlights of the portfolio. Do you want to talk about other companies that were really interesting companies out of your portfolio that are emblematic of how you invest, what you like to invest in, how you think, et cetera?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I talked about the three buckets. So I'll give you examples in all three. That way, the audience, depending on what they're doing, can relate to those buckets. So the first one I gave you the example of was next generation infrastructure. So this would be as drones are flying in the sky and next generation cell phones and what we call the moving data center, which is the car, or geostationary satellites. All these next generation physical infrastructure devices have very unique needs for software which runs inside of them, right? And so I gave you examples of Ben's practice, my partner Ben Yu's practice, which had these. Ben is really easy to understand or introduce because I just say, hey, look at your cell phone, that device, the motion sensor which sits in those devices will also Ben's investment company called InventSense, which we just sold a few quarters ago to a Japanese company, TDK. I think that was a $1.2 billion deal. But that's in the history. More recently, we've done companies in the 5G wireless space, a company called 1Mby1M, next generation data center space, company called CNEX, which makes the lossless storage controller, very, very phenomenal companies. And in security, for instance, a company called Zimperium, which does the mobile edge protection. So these are next generation infrastructure companies. Moving to the second bucket, which is I've mentioned intelligence. There we have a lot of history, with the examples I was giving you, like Green Plum and Teradata. In that we've done new investments. So, cleaning data when it comes into the data center is really important, and making sure that it's got, full genealogy. So we are very excited about a company called Zaloni, which my partner Mark has done. Cloud data processing, I already mentioned, Treasure Data. And next generation ML and AI companies, we've done a company that's we spun out of UCLA called Falcon Computing. It's an infrastructure for doing next generation AI. And then an AI application company, this is a Tel Aviv company I'm super excited about, called Apply Tools. And they're in the application UI testing space, 300 customers, very exciting use of AI in that context. And then finally, industries, which is the third bucket. This is where your disrupting a business process with new techniques using AI, et cetera. So we've done, in the vertical, we've done, for instance, a company called Hired.com, which you might have heard about. They're disrupting the hiring process. Now, you might think, wow, that seems like pretty old school, but the way they're doing it, they have a different business model and they have a different technology. So now they're serving 3,000 customers and growing really fast. So those are some examples in those three buckets that we're super excited by.
And if you look at the last 15 months, let's say all of 2017 and the first quarter of 2018, what trends do you see in your deal flow that are worth calling out?
I think, so certainly I don't think entrepreneurs ever sleep, so that, there's no dearth of deal flow. I mean, it's actually stunning to me how many amazing companies are popping out. I think there's most definitely a theme for using a vertical use of AI in those dimensions I just talked about. So there are many companies that are popping out that are saying, okay, supply chain, CRM, sales process, expense management, whatever the case might be, how do we take true AI and incrementally disrupt that workflow? And so these are companies that are not process-centric. These are more predictive in nature, and their ROI is very compelling when you put them on top of these business processes. So we're seeing that as a very defined trend. I think some entrepreneurs are trying to also reimagine these applications entirely. So kind of the point I'm trying to make there is, when I was a CEO, my frame of reference on top of which I built the application was a database, right? So this is Oracle or Sybase, and you build tables and you stitch together workflows. But imagine for a second that you don't have the database as a reference architecture, but you have AI and intelligence as a base architecture. So in that context, the way you would build a business application would be quite different, right? So some entrepreneurs are actually taking it to that level and building it on these intelligence layers. And I think you're going to see massive disruption coming out. It's going to take a little while, but we're starting to see the beginnings of that. Obviously, there's a lot of blockchain and those kind of conversations in the context of the enterprise. It's still early. But I think, we'll see some interesting companies come from there. But I'm very, very bullish on, sort of AI techniques disrupting, classic domains.
Biggest trend we've seen ever, probably.
Sorry?
In enterprise software. AI is the biggest trend we've seen ever in enterprise software.
That is correct. That is correct. It's taking all the old rules, throwing it out the window, and having entrepreneurs really look at it. Now, I will say that there's a lot of, sort of painting, sort of a different color on an old technology. So we look very deeply when a team comes and says we're AI. The good news is, with Sierra and the big data, sort of history we have, we can really go quite deep into if this is truly a smart team in that domain. There are quite a few pretenders, I guess, is the point I'm trying to make. So
always, right? Always.
Yeah,
when there's a buzzword that is popular, everybody slaps that buzzword on every deal possible.
That is correct. That is correct.
So last question before we switch to the mentoring part of the program today. Tim, are you chasing unicorns?
Actually, no. That, Sramana, is something that I'm not a huge fan of because, ultimately unicorns it's an easy term to, for very late stage investors to say, okay, I'm going to invest in X company at Y billion-dollar valuation. And I feel that does a disservice to so much of value creation that happens underneath that top of the pyramid. Because if you look at the classic and the best returns that venture capital has posted, it actually doesn't come from these quote-unquote unicorn-type companies where they're very few and far between. So a lot of the outcomes actually happen in that sort of, call it $1 billion and south, or even $2 billion and south kind of outcomes. And these are companies that have fundamentally strong businesses. They're growing 80 to 100%. They're triangulating to be EBITDA positive. And then those are the kind of companies we like to build. So I don't actually care. I mean, if somebody asks me, I'd say we're in the business of building companies. Ultimately, whether it's a unicorn or not is not something I worry about, because for me, it's just executing in that Series A, Series B, Series C, fundamental value, service your customers, and come early and stay late, which is where I started. So I don't focus on that word too much.
The concern I have is, you know, the traditional classic venture capital does run into some problems when these late-stage investors come in with huge amounts of money and kind of disrupt the cap table, right?
Yeah, well, you know, I think they do it if you let them, right? So in our case, we haven't entertained. We obviously get a lot of inbound interest where some will, you know, come in and dangle, you know, $50, $100 million in front of one of our companies. And I tell entrepreneurs that, you know, why would you take on load on your cap table ahead of you? Because remember, they're sitting in common and all these preferences are stacking up. It makes no sense. So I always tell entrepreneurs, build your business, try to skip the next round. So I always tell them that if you do a job, we'll skip the B. And we'll raise money at a high valuation, but the right amount of money. So I'm not a big fan of overfunding investments. I know there was a lot of chatter about, I forget who said it, but I think it was kind of the case for a fat startup, or I don't know what they call it. You might know that acronym that they're using, but effectively saying that, hey, just overfund your way to success. And, you know, you might get away with a deal here or there where that formula works, but by and large, all companies zigzag their way to final success. And on the way down, that extra capital load is horrendous for entrepreneurs, and it's not something that I recommend.
We absolutely hate this kind of, you know, deal structure. But the problem that has happened is that, you know, you use the word dangle, right? These late-stage investors dangle a lot of capital. Sometimes they dangle liquidity in front of the founders, and the founders maybe have been at it for 5-7 years, and they want that liquidity, and that is one of the ways they are getting into these deals and corrupting the cap tables, which is not really healthy for anybody. After that, it's not healthy for anybody.
I'll give you a 30-second example because this is real time, and then we can switch to your presenting companies. So this is just a company of mine which I did Series A, and they're in that third bucket, industries and process. So they went from 1.5 to 4 to 8 to 16. I'm giving you exit ARR numbers, okay?
Yeah.
And they're tracking to about, call it 30 to 32 million this year. Their growth from 8 to 16, they only burnt $3 million. So it's a real business, 150 customers, enterprise. He had multiple term sheets, but this entrepreneur had the discipline to say, he actually did a kind of, here's what I need for the next 18 to 24 months. It was $12 million. He said, okay, I'm going to take time and a half that, so it's whatever, 18 to 20. And there were people putting 25, 30 in front of him. He did not take it. In fact, he refused those term sheets and took something much different. So I think if entrepreneurs have that discipline and confidence, I love those kind of companies because ultimately he's doing himself and his employees a favor. And obviously, I think if we are along for the ride, we will all do well. So you've got to have discipline,
And the market, the public market has really been very much in favor of companies like the ones that have followed that strategy. Atlassian has done very well in the public market. Viva was built for $3 million cash.
I mean, MuleSoft actually, Srimana, is a great example.
Yes.
So by the way, hats off to that entrepreneur and Greg and who's the CEO, because B2BI,
great entrepreneur,
right? B2BI is not a sexy category. This company was started in 2008, right? And everybody talks about, so this is the zig and the zag I was talking about. Ultimately, the reason the company got bought by Salesforce was that the timing was right, but fundamentally Salesforce was looking for scale in this space and got it by buying this company. And there's an example of if you keep your P&L up and to the right, you're tracking, again, markets only care about growth and ultimate EBITDA. And I think if you keep that track and keep your business, growing and not burning too much of cash, good things happen. So that's a great example as well.
Excellent. That's a superb discussion. Folks, I hope you enjoyed it. We'll come back to Q&A a bit later. We're going to switch to the entrepreneur presentations next.
Okay.
Just a few quick expectation setting. This is a safe working session. You don't need to feel defensive. You don't need to feel scared. You don't need to feel nervous. We're on your side. We are only doing this to help you. We have no other agenda. Please, though, remember that not all businesses are venture fundable. Venture funding is a very particular set of criteria that you have to meet to be venture fundable. And that is, venture funding is not necessarily success either. So please do not equate success to raising huge amounts of money. We have been saying this throughout the first segment of the discussion today, but please make a note of that. Not all businesses can raise money. Not all businesses should raise money, and raising a lot of money doesn't guarantee success. Somehow or the other, the entrepreneurship ecosystem has created this myth that entrepreneurship equals financing. We absolutely do not believe in that. Entrepreneurship equals customers, revenues, and profits. Financing is optional. Exit is optional. Of course, exit is necessary if you raise venture financing. We are going to start with Rajesh Prabhu in Bangalore, India. Rajesh, go ahead with your presentation, please.
Hello.
Yes, go on.
Thank you so much, Shramana, and hello, Tim. Thank you so much for having me on this panel. So we are a technology company based out of Bangalore and Bangalore. We've been bootstrapped for the last 4 years now. We're a small team of 20 people, which is what my first slide tells me. Our mantra till now had been, was we build things and we get them to life. We've been an ambitious digital and technology company, and we kept our team small intentionally because it allowed us to grow in a way where we could deliver agile solutions to our customers. So this has been our mantra for the last 4 years now. So coming back to, our way of working has been looking at long-term growth. And the way we speak to our customers has been till date by partnering up with them and giving them the solutions which works for them in terms of 3 years, 5 years, and a 10-year strategy, wherein they understand that we are here for longer term. And this has been our service-based strategy, which has worked fairly well for us for the last 4 years now. And right now we have thought, it's the best time for us to slowly start pivoting towards a SaaS-based model, wherein we can have our revenues balanced between services and SaaS. And this is where we believe India is the best market right now for us to grow, wherein we focus mainly on SaaS tools, which are focused around workforce optimization, predominantly around CRMs for sales staff, field activity management for sales executives, and expense reporting. So why our strategy has been India and not the West? Now, this is something not most companies are focusing on. Everybody is mostly focused on West and Europe. Our strategy has been India first, the reason being, since we are a small company based out of Mangalore and currently Bangalore, we have identified there are a lot of SMEs and MSMEs based around our district and our state. And if you can see the numbers, this is the numbers from last year from the government website, which we have found 18,918 registered small-scale units are based out of Karnataka, based out of Dakshin Kannada district, out of which 3 are medium-scale industries, 17 large-scale industries, and 3 mega industries. Now, this is a huge customer base, which is either right now getting into a technology sector or hasn't even thought of getting into the technology sector because they are founded in the 1970s and the 1980s. And now they are being taken over by the second generation entrepreneurs who are looking for digital solutions, technology solutions, but are finding these implementations expensive or beyond their reach. So this is wherein this small chart which shows how these industries have been segmented. And if you look at these are all manufacturing industries till date have been able to grow, have generated employment in these areas with zero or very minimal technology to help them grow. So our customer acquisition strategy right now is to acquire at least 20 customers, wherein we will be working alongside with them to understand their specific requirements, which will help us build the product. And this is going to be a 1-year strategy, wherein these 20 customers will be organically acquired through sales and marketing strategies. This will not be an online model as what normal SaaS companies would look at. And we also would want to target at least 10 enterprise customers. When I say enterprise customers, these are customers with companies with a turnover of anywhere between 300 to 400 crores in annual revenue. And these 10 customers would allow us to fund the initial product development because we have so far been funding it through the profits which we have been generating from our service-based sector of it. So this is wherein the bootstrap strategy for us has worked out well so far.
Rajesh, where are your services customers from, India or abroad?
These are from abroad, which is the reason we are able to keep some revenue profits pulled into for the SaaS side of it. The customers
and what
are
is the
from UK
what
and
is the scale? How much are you doing right now in services revenue?
We are not doing a lot. We are anywhere between $150K to $200,000 year on year.
Okay.
And this at now has become stagnant because we haven't invested in a sales or marketing in abroad. All these have worked. We have been able to acquire these customers because word of mouth and the fact that our customers have believed in us for the last 4 years. So
these 10 enterprise customers that you want to acquire, of which you have signed up to, what are you going to do for them? What have you signed them up to do?
So this was a company with an annual turnover of 400 crores. I'm sorry, it's not in, I can't tell you in dollars, it's 400 crores.
That's fine.
Yeah, and these guys have been using an ERP solution which is given by Microsoft, but their entire sales team and marketing team does not have a digital solution. So their entire customer base, their customer data is either on Excel, WhatsApp, or emails.
Okay.
So it took us a year's time to get this company convinced that they need a CRM solution in place. We found them while doing our marketing study, but it took us a year to get this converted. So
but why in 2018 does it justify for you to custom build a CRM solution for this company? The truth is they should be buying one of the CRM solutions off the market. There are many of those. Why? What is the justification that you're going to build a custom CRM solution for them?
Right. So the main our selling strategy is and has been the fact that we will be giving the best support that is possible, which comes either in annual maintenance contracts or, yes, it's for enterprise customers, it has been in terms of annual maintenance contracts, and our track record of being in the industry for the last 4 years. Off-the-shelf CRMs
Rajesh,
have not worked.
I will tell you, I will give you my feedback and then turn it over to Tim to give you his. I don't buy that at this stage of the game, starting a CRM company, which is what you're proposing to do by writing software from scratch, is a great idea. The market is extremely crowded, and there's a lot going on in the CRM space. And there are a lot of big players in there. So I don't buy that this is a great strategy. Tim, what do you think?
Yeah, I think I'd agree with you, Sramana. So a couple of things, Rajesh. One is, I'll just comment on your pitch first, right? Just to give you a little bit of feedback. The first thing is that when you start the first or second page, you need to be very clear about what you do, right? And here, less is more. So instead of having, you know, like paragraphs of text on your slide, you should try to be very succinct, and you shouldn't give a voiceover and say, okay, you know, you should make the main point. So it took me about 3 minutes to even figure out what is it that you do or you're trying to do, right? That's point number one. And I think point number two, which is exactly right, Sramana said it, that I think CRM per se, the way you're talking about it, I mean, there are hundreds of companies that are in this space. Salesforce.com, which is, you know, doing tens of billions of dollars of revenue, is only 17% market share. So you can just understand how long and flat that tail looks. So I'm not sure, unless there's a spin on the category of CRM that you are going after, that this is a winning strategy.
All right. So Rajesh, these projections mean nothing. I think your fundamental assumption, I think Tim is agreeing with me, is flawed. So you may want to rethink. For example, this customer that you've got, this enterprise customer that you've got, you figure out which CRM system of the market would best serve their purpose, and you integrate them and you know, solve their issue and be done with it. Do not get into an engagement of writing CRM software from scratch, because it's not a winning strategy. You need to find a niche where there is a gap, and find something where you can really build something differentiated, something that is in an underserved space where you can position a winning strategy. Currently, based on what you've presented here, your strategy is fundamentally flawed.
Okay. Yeah, I'll just give you, Rajesh, 30 seconds. You might consider mapping out the CRM market. And you might say, hey, there's horizontal CRM, there's B2C CRM, B2B CRM. In B2B CRM, business to business, there's all kinds of variations of CRM. And if you think about Viva, which Sramana was talking about, that was also CRM, but it was done in the context of the pharma industry. And they built a massive multi-billion-dollar company. So you need to be intellectually pure and need to go a little deeper into what you are trying to articulate, which is not easy for us to understand in 5 minutes. But clearly there's something that is exciting you about the market. So I think map the market out, segment it, figure out which customer shows up where and who doesn't show up, and then try to convince yourself first that it's big enough to go after the space you feel is underrepresented, and then try to build a company.
Right.
Anyway.
Okay.
All right. Well, your questions about funding and all, these are kind of, you are nowhere near ready to be funded, so this is a question that is not even going to be relevant for you for 18 months or so. People do not fund concepts. You have to, everybody in the audience, please understand, people do not fund concepts. You're going to have to validate, you're going to have to get to a point where you have traction, some level of validation, some level of, understanding that customers are looking for this, customers are buying this. Hyper-crowded markets don't get a lot of funding. If there are tremendous numbers of players already in the market and you don't bring something differentiated, there is really no chance that you will be able to attract venture funding. And so I will stop at that. I think your questions about funding are kind of at this point moot points for your situation. So we're going to move. Thank you, Rajesh, for your presentation, and we wish you all the best to figure out a gap in the market, the big word, and put it in capitals, G-A-P in capitals, find the gap. Don't go after places that are hyper-crowded. Find a gap in the market. That's how great companies are built.
Hey, Sarmana, I have a 9 o'clock. I need to jump to, but thank you for hosting me.
Thank you for coming, Tim. I'll be in touch. I have something actually I'm going to send you after.
Okay, super. Bye. Bye.
All right, bye. Thanks. Surbhi Rathore is up next. Surbhi has actually interacted with me several times in the in-person rendezvous that we do in Silicon Valley of late. Surbhi, go ahead and do your presentation.
This opportunity here. It's been really helpful, all the feedback so far, and I could go back and gather more statistics, more research, and more data about how we should be presenting Rammer.ai. So to start with, and for everybody else on here, we are all in the era of global transformation, and intelligent decisions are the last mile. And we founded Rammer.ai with a mission to make all communications intelligent in all interfaces, where there is so much of data flowing across conversations, meetings between people. Intelligent decisions from this data is actually a key factor of global transformation. So I'm Surbhi Rathore, coming from India, currently in San Jose, trying to expand and build up Rammer.ai. So we are targeting enterprise organizations who are selling or using communication or collaboration platforms where most of the conversations happen. The value is provided by Rammer is that Rammer is a platform that generates actionable insights automatically and real time from conversations that happens in meetings, so that people don't have to go back and then identify, oh, we need to set a meeting with so-and-so person. Let's put it in the calendar, send invites, or integrations with other work tools, softwares where actions needs to be taken after the meeting always gets over. So the value that we are providing is basically actionable insights for all enterprise customers. The customer segment that we are currently targeting is video conferencing platforms where global collaborations happen, enterprise collaboration softwares like Slack and Flock and Sync, where people talk amongst them. There is a purpose of talking for collaborating in teams, and information service providers, which are a key player to understand customer information, all headquartered in the United States. The acquisition strategy, and this is where I would need more feedback on, is possibly three ways. One is we direct enterprise customers who use video conferencing solutions, but obviously video conferencing solutions wouldn't partner with us immediately. And none of the enterprise customers would use our video conferencing solution because they have their own. So we partner with video conferencing solutions like Zoom or GoToMeeting, and then serve their customers in the IT outsourcing industry to generate actionable insights while they're talking on the conferencing platform. The other approach is that we collaborate, we provide our API, which is ready today, as an add-on feature to existing collaboration platforms where real-time communications already happen, for example, Slack. And when teams talk on collaboration platforms like that, our API provides automatic and real-time actionable insights from their communication. The other approach is to reach collaboration platforms that do not have any real-time communications like project management softwares, Asana, and others, And Rammer.ai partners with a video conferencing API provider to together provide a wholesome solution. So these are the three ways that we are approaching right now. We do not have any customers validated as of now because we just recently have started doing customer demos. We are starting with doing demos to customers in person. Then we give out to them for trials. And we are just, today we are at the stage of just doing customer demos. We are writing down customers who would be interested in pilots and then building a 100 beta customer pipeline. So we have a couple of challenges here related to integration with existing communication platforms like GoToMeeting or Zoom because we don't have any credibility currently. So how do we reach out to them and say that, hey, please integrate with us so that we can serve your customer base to provide insights. And also we need a very faster go-to-market because there are two big competitors like Voicera and AI Sense who aren't doing what we are doing yet, but they're heavily funded and they can easily move into this space eventually. So yeah, and these are the biggest two challenges, and questions would be the comments on the go-to-market strategy and any customer references for pilots if you think are, a good way to start with.
So you're going to have to get validation customers on your own. Nobody will partner with you. Nobody will become a channel for you until you have customers who are actually, who agree that they need your solution and so forth. So if you're looking for customer references, as I've told you before, that if you're part of the premium program, you have full access to my Rolodex, and I'll be happy to introduce you to whoever you want to meet with. And pitch to. But at this moment, there is no other go-to-market strategy rather than directly approaching people who are in your customer segment. And I think we need to do some fine-tuning of your actual customer segment, target customer segment of where you go and whom you go try to sell to, etc. So, those are, I would say, those are the two things that you're going to need to focus on. Is one is getting a better targeting and better positioning, and then two is just going and getting introduced to the right potential customers who would be in that sweet spot. There's nothing else you can do right now with an enterprise company, with actually any B2B company, other than proactively going and getting customers in a very brute force manner with good targeting and good strategy, but you have to, good use case mapping, you have to go and get customers to start using your product and becoming pilot customers. There's absolutely nothing else that you can do until you get enough of those kinds of pilot customers worked in.
All right, so that's what I've been doing recently. One more question I had, Samana. What do you think about the scalability understanding from an end person perspective when you say you will start with a feature on a collaboration platform versus building your own meeting collaboration product?
Well, if you think that this is just a feature of a collaboration product, then then you're not going to be able to build a company out of it. The question is, how complex is it for Zoom to bring this in as a feature and just offer this to their customer base and basically make you irrelevant, versus do you have something really defensible? Is it a really hard problem to solve, etc.? In which case, even if Zoom sells it, it's going to be a module that they're going to have to put in significant product development investment into, and so on and so forth. So eventually it may become a module. There is a big difference between a feature and a module. A feature is something that people cannot get extra money from selling. Module is something that they can sell as an extra module. A module that goes along with a Zoom or a GoToMeeting can be a $200 million, $500 million business, whereas a feature will not be a business.
Understand. Thank you.
You're welcome. Kitty Chen from Smith College, I believe.
Hi. Yeah.
Hello, Kitty.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me here today. I'm Kitty. I'm from San Francisco, California, currently at Smith College. pursuing a psychology and economics double major with hopefully a minor in architecture. And as a psychology research assistant, I focus on intergroup relations. My venture right now is in its ideation stage, and I'm actually entering an entrepreneurship pitch competition tomorrow. So I'm here for all of your advice, and I invite you to type in the chat and let me know what you think during my presentation.
All right, go ahead.
Do you ever feel like there's just not enough time in the world? If you've experienced college, you know exactly what I mean. Lisa has the flu. She's also skipping dinner in order to cram a paper by midnight. She doesn't have time to be sick or hungry, so what if she buys time? Kinfolk is a platform that connects students and people who don't have time to do their errands with others who can help. Even if her friends are busy, Lisa can put in $5 for Audrey, who's in her community, to bring her dinner and NyQuil, even if they don't know each other. Audrey gets $5 and Lisa saves 40 minutes of walking. Next slide, please. According to psychological research from Harvard Business School, when people spend money on time-saving services, they're happier and more satisfied with their lives. Retail therapy is a myth, but there's hard research evidence that working adults experience happiness after a time-saving purchase. This is because they no longer feel like they're running out of time. Kinfolk is the bridge to creating a new sense of belonging. We are students helping students, and we benefit everyone by establishing social support. Next slide, please. 92% of students I surveyed at my college said they would run errands, while 83% said they would pay for someone to do them. College students spend an average of 10 hours on their phones, and they could save a lot of time and worry with Kinfolk instead of procrastinate with Snapchat, Instagram, or Twitter. Next slide, please. The college market has 21 million students who have a combined spending power of $523 billion. This is a significant pool of consumers that we're not tapping into, especially because people in college right now, with me, are the spearheads of Generation Z. We're the first ones who actually grew up with iPads in our hands instead of having to incorporate it into our daily routine. And we contribute a large part of the current social media platform's success. Kinfolk has the potential to scale like Facebook, which similarly started as a platform solely for college kids. Starting with my college, next slide please, we can easily expand to bring groups together by incentivizing community interaction in any kind of environment, be it college, high school, corporate companies like Google, and even small neighborhoods. Apps like TaskRabbit work because they match the right resources with the right consumers and create jobs in urban areas. But Kinfolk goes one step beyond that. Next slide, please. Thank you. By using centralized transactions like Venmo with a rating system like Uber, Kinfolk will be easy and reliable. As a social platform, we're more scalable than Facebook because which college kid doesn't want to make a few easy bucks while also meeting new friends? We're so addicted, we hardly pause to think what technology today is really doing to us. When was the last time you knew your neighbors? With social media, technology is creating individuals, but with Kinfolk, we're here to deliver communities. College should feel like home, but it didn't to me. And according to the student government poll result I presented to my college's board of trustees, many students still feel the same way. My true vision for Kinfolk is one that will fix the lack of understanding across the world by bringing back these basic human connections that we once got from connecting with our neighbors. I can see Lisa in the dining hall next week and remember that, hey, you helped me that one time. College administrations and large corporations try so hard to bring in diverse individuals because it leads to innovation, and that's true. But diversity isn't a trophy we let sit there like a statistic and just kind of do its own thing. It's a living, breathing network. Diversity only has meaning if we're connected as human beings instead of social media profiles. And my question today centers around just asking for advice and how I can make my pitch better. I also really want to continue with this idea, and I'm determined enough to code this myself, even if I'm a psych major.
Very good. So, Kitty, let me give you a bunch of feedback. Your presentation is actually good, but some of the content in there needs work. So let's go back to a few assumptions you have here. So first and foremost, this slide where you have 21 million consumers who are presumably, that's the college student population at any given time, right? You're using North America only?
I'm using only college students in the United States.
Okay. So the point that is missing from all this is, what is your business model? How does your company make money? And the way we look at what you're trying to present here in this slide is called total available market, TAM. And that's market sizing is a very crucial piece of the entrepreneurship journey. Anybody who's assessing your business plan is looking for an accurate TAM analysis. And what you've done here is kind of like a top-down TAM analysis, whereas what people are looking for is a bottom-up TAM analysis. And to be able to do an accurate bottom-up TAM analysis, you will need to essentially create a business model, a pricing model, and then calculate how if all the college students out there, if this 20 million plus college students out there were using your technology, how much money would you make off each of these students, each of the transactions, and so forth? If this, conceivably this could be a commission of the transactions that you are facilitating is your business model. But all of that needs to be worked out, and that is one of the things that is missing from your presentation. So that's point number one. Point number two is, where did I see that? You said something about wanting to go not only, you want to cater to the student community, but you also go work in the corporate communities and so forth. That is where I think the assumption is wrong. I would kind of position this as a student service. And 20 million students is a very, very compelling, large user base. You don't need to go to corporates and so forth, because there, people don't have the need to make this small denomination money. If somebody's paying $5 to go get, dinner, that is not the kind of things that people are necessarily willing to spend time on. There are other communities where you may have this kind of requirement, right? There are communities, and there's a lot of unemployed people out there and so on and so forth, but those are totally different segments, and getting into those segments from a go-to-market strategy point of view are very different, and you have to think that through. So for the time being, I don't want you to present this as something that you're going to go do for corporates as well and so on and so forth. So stick to the college idea. And in the college context, your idea works fine. Figure out a business model, a pricing model, and a total available market sizing from a bottom-up market sizing point of view, and see how big a market opportunity is just the college market. It may be sufficient for you to, to go for this and build this up. And then those other segments you can figure out in due course what those other segments are where your concept does have applicability and how to penetrate those markets. That is my initial feedback for you.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions?
I do, and I was wondering if you have any advice on how I can actively find partners who are just as passionate as me to share kind of the work in bringing this to life. Right.
So among other things, you're going to need to work with some people who can help you develop the software. So I would go to the computer science department at Smith College and you know, talk to the professors there and find out who, you know, who in the computer science department is looking to be part of a startup and start talking to students there. You know, my closest relationship in the Smith College Computer Science Department is with Professor Dominique Thibault, who was my advisor. You can contact him and see if he can help you find a co-founder who would help you build this technology.
Cool.
Okay?
Yep. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. So stay on for the rest of the segments, and I'm going to explain to you how to use 1Mby1M next. So you can ask questions after that if you like, all of you. So before we go there, though, I have a request from you. If you like what we're doing here, please bring serious entrepreneurs into 1Mby1M. That is, you know, what we are looking for, is to work with companies and entrepreneurs who have the tenacity, the resilience, the commitment, and the, you know, mental makeup to build companies. Building companies takes many years, and we need to find entrepreneurs who have that kind of mental makeup. Resource-wise, if you want to use 1Mby1M to learn what you need to do to build a company, go to 1Mby1M.com, and everything we provide is there, and it's very, very reasonably priced. A lot of it is free. Just by following the blog, you will learn a lot, and the blog is completely free. The Entrepreneur Journeys book series, we have 12 volumes of these books. They're all available on Amazon Kindle, and they're, again, very reasonably priced. You can find, you know, a starting point to learn the 1M1M methodology there. These are case study-based books. You have 12 to 16 case studies per book, and we deal with a topic, right? Maybe you're trying to build an e-commerce company. We have a book, E-commerce to Web 3.0. Women Entrepreneurs, Feminine Feminism is a book that addresses women entrepreneurs and their successes, their journeys, their issues. Billion-Dollar Unicorns, people who are trying to build unicorn companies. That's a book that will give you lots of, you know, opportunities to understand how billion-dollar unicorn entrepreneurs have built their companies. These roundtables happen every week, and you can use these roundtables to learn. The recordings are available. You can learn from the recordings as well. Our full acceleration program is 1M1M Premium, and we offer you extensive methodology guidance. We have a full curriculum, online curriculum that you can do from anywhere in the world, and it's a case studies and video lectures-based curriculum. It has over 800 case studies of successful entrepreneurs, including 50-plus unicorn entrepreneurs, 400-plus VC-funded companies, 350-plus bootstrapped entrepreneurs. So you'll get lots of help through the curriculum, through the methodology. You will get lots of help with strategy. You know, it's the same format as you're experiencing here in the roundtable. We have private roundtables for our premium members only, where we give you project-based feedback. Your strategy guidance will come from that mode. That's part of the premium program as well. And we help you with business development. We help you with financing. We help you with media relations, and so on and so forth. So there's a, you know, there's a whole suite of services that are part of the full acceleration program, and that's a $1,000 annual membership fee model. So feel free to use that. One thing I would like you to do, actually, with all your business ideas and businesses, is go to the 1M1M self-assessment and really deeply take your project through the self-assessment questionnaire and understand what what answers are you getting. This is how you map strategy. And going through this and understanding where your strategy is getting stuck or encountering roadblocks is a very good way to know what you need to do and how do you remove that roadblock. Then you can come and ask me questions on that particular roadblock. Now, if you get stuck on methodology in doing the program, if you get stuck at the self-assessment, if you get stuck on methodology, you can just go to the 1M1M basic and sign up for a curriculum-only version and plug those methodology gaps. So that's a very easy way to learn just raw methodology, and methodology is something you're going to need to learn. You know, we can't really help you if you're not going to be willing to invest the time and energy to learn methodology using the curriculum. We can't help you as much. There's a tremendously steep learning curve in a first-time entrepreneur's journey, and we are trying to give you very efficient, very affordable ways to mitigate that learning curve. You know, this program is for you if you can use those and do a lot of self-learning and learn through these roundtable coaching and so forth. And that is the entrepreneur, the style of entrepreneur that we can help is that style of entrepreneur who's willing to do that self-learning. Go to the website, dig around. There's lots of information about what to expect from premium, basic, FAQs, video FAQs. So dig around, understand the curriculum. It is a case studies and video lectures-based curriculum, as I said, that you can access from anywhere in the world. Our methodology is lean, capital-efficient, bootstrap startups. Our philosophy is bootstrap first, raise money later. And that's pretty much, you know, what the background of the program is and how to use the program. You can ask questions if you like. Right now, we're open for Q&A, so you can either type in your questions in public chat. Be sure to set your chat to send to all participants and not to me privately. And then you can ask also questions by dialing in. I'll put up the dial-in slide in a moment. So upcoming free roundtables, we have all the way from now till mid-May, we have another 6 roundtables. So tons of opportunities to work on your businesses, sign up for whatever works on your schedule, and we look forward to working with you. Also, there are numerous opportunities for getting together with me in person. So typically, these are Wednesday afternoon sessions, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m., and then on Sunday, May 6th, we have a 3 to 4 p.m. weekend session as well. So, you know, make use of all this and see what works on your schedule. Come if you're in the Bay Area or if you're visiting the Bay Area, if you would like to get together in person and chat, please come by. It's wonderful, it's friendly, it's informal, it's really, really, you know, pleasant to just hang out and talk about your businesses and meet other entrepreneurs who are working in your domain, well, in the technology domain. So that's it. You are welcome to call in. Anybody who has questions can use the public chat or the phone line to ask your questions. By the way, you can also introduce yourself. This is a very good time to introduce yourself. And, you know, if you are looking for co-founders, if you're looking to connect with people on specific points, you can do networking here in the public chat. If you have issues that you're dealing with, tell us where you're joining from, what your project is, what kind of issues you want to be addressed. I'll be happy to address them in the remaining time. Okay. So while you're lining up your questions, let me introduce you to Irina Patterson. If you have questions about the program, please feel free to also contact Irina at 1Mby1M.com, and she'll be happy to help you. I think Vijender Nala is, your comments are for Surbhi, right? It's Surbhi's product that you are interested in. Surbhi, you may have a customer here in the public chat that you can connect with. Vijender Nala may be a potential customer for you. And folks, I am taking questions on the Quora sessions. For those of you who are Quora users, you can ask me questions on the Quora sessions as well. Maureen will post the link there in the public chat. you can go to Quora and ask questions in sessions, and I will answer them in the course of the day today. All right, folks, questions, comments? And if there are no questions, then I will adjourn for today. No introductions. Nobody wants to introduce it. There's so many people in the room. I see so many people, and many of you I've never met before. So it's a, wonderful opportunity to get to know you. Surbhi Rathore has a question. What is the frequency of private roundtables? Surbhi, usually it's once a week, sometimes more. And if I'm traveling, we don't have private or public roundtables usually. But that's only a few times a year. In the course of a year, you have almost always at least one private roundtable a week. So Maureen has posted the Quora session that you can also use to ask questions if you need to. Any other questions, comments, issues that you want dealt with today? Rajendra Nala, Shramana, can you help our online education initiative with business development and investment partners? Vijayender, I have no idea what your education initiative is, so I welcome your pitch in one of the upcoming sessions, and I will be happy to give you feedback and tell you whether we can help you with business development and investment and so forth or not. Maureen, Kitty is reporting that the Quora link has some problem. Vijayender Nala, is the pitching only way to get your attention? You can join the program, Vijayender, and get my attention. You can become a premium member and you can get my attention.
Hi, Shaman. I have a question. This is Irina.
Yeah, go ahead.
How do you feel about entrepreneurs who are working full-time?
We are very supportive of bootstrapping with a paycheck. So we actually believe that if you, among the various creative bootstrapping mechanisms, bootstrapping using a paycheck is one of the most efficient ones and the most popular ones. So we strongly encourage it, and we have huge amounts of methodology that we have developed for people who are bootstrapping with a paycheck. So it's perfectly acceptable, perfectly intelligent way to do it, and we encourage it.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Anybody else? Tejas Nifadkar. Tejas, working at a private software firm in Bangalore, really looking forward to joining the premium program. Questions are, does the program include guidance right from the ideation till conceptualizing a business model and pitch? Do you expect us to come with an idea to the program? No, Tejas. We want you to come into the program as early in your cycle as possible so that we can steer you and guide you in the right direction with the right methodology under your belt. So often we actually get people who come into the program with an idea that they're very set about, and then the idea doesn't validate. The idea is not a good idea. You cannot really build a good business out of that idea. We don't want you to do that, actually. We prefer that you come in and learn the methodology and ideate in the process. And as you're ideating, you're following our validation methodology and so forth, so you don't spend 18 months going down a path that is not a robust, sound path. So as early as possible, pre-idea is all fine. Of course, we are open to you're coming in with an idea. We're open to you're coming in with some validation and ready to go into investor situations. All of those are fine. We're very flexible. And as early as possible is also just fine. So Maureen is offering Kitty the link to the Quora activity. Kitty, please go ahead and check if that works for you. Vijender, I will give you the phone line here. The slide on your screen currently is the phone number to call into. So it seems like Vijender is calling in. I will wait for you to dial in. Any other questions, folks? Any other questions, comments? So Tejas, just for your information, we've had case studies within the program where entrepreneurs have come in with your kind of situation where they have full-time jobs and so forth and have bootstrapped their way all the way to break even. It really depends on what kind of a business you end up doing, but it is doable. You know, we have seen tons of great bootstrapping with the paycheck case studies. Vijender, are you on the call?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me, Ramana?
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So, as I said, maybe I should. Do you hear my echo, please? Is that?
No, you're coming in fine. We can hear you perfectly fine. So go ahead.
Oh, good. Yes. So I was curious because I said we are running this online education business. Been developing it for already 3 years now, and we do online education and coaching. We are in revenues, but you know, I think we need help in the business development and in scaling up. So I would like to join in your coaching
for.
We are into 2 sectors. So we do sector-based coaching and education in agribusiness, food processing, retail. That is one, and then we recently started doing something in IT as well.
And what in IT?
So that's a little bit in the early phase, but yeah, a few programs in the area of, again, it's lifelong learning education is where we are active in.
Okay, I can share, it's a bit big. So your revenues are mostly from the agribusiness portion of the coaching?
Yes, and the IT also started coming in, but they are very small. In both areas, there's much smaller than the potential, of course, of what we have done.
And what is the revenue level?
It's about 100K in the last year.
Okay. And what is the model? Is it a subscription model? Is it a per hour fee model? What is the model of coaching?
No, it's both education and coaching. So we have 2 different models, education and coaching separately, and that is not for graduating the students, but people who have finished or about to graduate. And
I'm asking more about the business model. Is it a subscription model? Is it a transaction model?
No, it's a program-based payment.
Program-based payment. What does that mean?
It's similar to the Udacity model, more or less. You can compare that to Udacity model. They offer nano degrees and we offer certificates.
Okay.
So it's, and we run quite big programs as well, like mini MBA 6-month programs, and that have uptake, quite good uptake. And B2B market also we have proven success, but scaling is a challenge, and that is where basically I think we need support.
Okay. Well, you know, as far as 1 million by 1 million is concerned, you would need to be part of the premium program for me to be able to work with you, to be able to coach you. So that's, you know, if you want to stay in touch.
Yeah, I'm very happy to join the program. I looked at a couple of your recordings, and I joined in a bit late today, but yeah, I think you could help us. And then I was just thinking, is your business model only that $1,000, or does it, so which means all the support you can offer, you offer that in the $1,000, is it?
That's right. Everything is within the $1,000.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, good. I think then I'll join your program. And the only thing is does it have to follow all the steps that you indicate, or you know, looking at our work, you can speeden up the steps as well if you think, like, you know, we are quite ahead in the game?
You know, we meet you where it's really up to you how you want to use the program in terms of learning. What the typical situation would be, you would come into the program and you would start looking at the curriculum, and you decide which parts of the curriculum you need. And this is why I pointed you to the self-assessment. The self-assessment is a very good point for you to start. So you go through the self-assessment and see where you feel stuck. And then you go do those curriculums from a methodology point of view. And then you come and work with me in the roundtables. I will give you pointers. I will give you strategic guidance, and I will give you homework. So, so that's how we operate, basically. And how much I can speed your journey up is going to be dependent on you, on how much work you're going to be doing based on what guidance I will give you.
Okay, interesting. Okay, clear. Then I'll do the self-assessment straight away, and then I'll get you. Yeah, I'll drop it. So, how is there a way I can reach out to you by email just before?
If you're in the program, you can. If you're not in the program, I don't answer emails.
Oh, you don't answer emails other than in your program.
No, if you're in the program, I will answer all your emails.
Okay.
See,
great.
Think about it.
Great.
Since you are in the coaching business and education business, you have to understand we are doing this at a very, very large scale, and we get, you know, our community is over 500,000 people. If I started responding to 500,000 people's emails and they're not in my program, how am I going to manage this?
No, I can pay you the $1,000 you asked for right now on the phone. That's not a problem. But what I was keen on is that, you know, I spend my time wisely, and I just make sure that because we.
But you have to budget time to do this program. Don't join the program. You have to budget time to do this program because there is studying involved. You're going to have to study.
Yeah, sure.
The curriculum, I will tell you, you know, as you're going through the self-assessment, you will see where you need to study. I will give you pointers to where you need to study. But if you are not willing to put in that study time, it's not going to work as well for you. That's the caveat that I will place on what you're saying. So plan your time wisely. If you decide to join this program, budget time to be able to actually use the program.
Okay, that makes sense. But I mean, I believe that, you know, more than our biggest challenge is the network and capacity, more than my homework, because I am on the entrepreneur journey for 9-10 years now. So, and I'm in the education business. So while I know that there would always be gaps that we need to fill in, but I think for me, the most important areas is the networks, basically. So that's where I think I would be. That's why I wanted to call and have a chat with you, or, you know, even
we have a humongous network in this space, but you know, I have no idea what is the fundability. If you're looking for introductions to investors, that is something that you're going to have to convince me that your business is fundable. And and I'm going to need to work with you to get you to a point where that business is fundable, and you know, there are lots of nuances to that. So maybe you need to start with the financing module, join the program and go do the financing module as the first step, and then start talking to me at the roundtables.
No, but yeah, like we have this chicken and egg situation. We don't need money because we are extremely, we run our business in a very smart model. So financing is not a big need if we can get access to good networks from a business development perspective, because our content and a lot of things are in place. So, but in any case, I'll take that risk. I'll join the premium program and get your attention, and then we'll see where it goes. I mean, I'm quite confident that no learning is waste learning, right? So it'll always have some value at some point.
Sounds good. All right. So, folks,
Thanks.
It looks like you're very welcome. Looks like I've addressed all the questions. Everybody is all set at this point. We'll meet back here next week and line up your questions. If you want to pitch, go to the website, Free Public Roundtables navigation point, and reserve your slot. And if you want to meet in person, come meet me at the rendezvous on Wednesday. So anyway, we have lots of touch points through which we can interact, and I look forward to working with you. Bye-bye.